Hi everybody, Jim Cameron here. Welcome to Sci-Fi Support. So we have a question here from Jack Hayes. Sci-fi, why you gotta be the most pessimistic genre? Jetpacks don't make up for totalitarianism. I think there's a lot of pessimism in science fiction about our social systems, but hard to not be pessimistic these days. You know, I mean, I think that the apocalyptic nature of science fiction is always a comment on our times, and I'm feeling particularly apocalyptic right now. Let's move on to the next one. Official B-Ray. All right, what the is a tractor beam, and why does every sci-fi film have one? Well, I actually haven't made a sci-fi film yet that has a tractor beam in it, but tractor beam is mythical technology where you can reach out with some invisible force and grab something and pull it to you, the tractor. The tractor beam is obviously a technology we don't have, but there is this little thing called flux pinning, by the way. When you have a type 2 superconductor in a powerful magnetic field, you get this thing called the Meissner effect, which means that you can actually lock onto it and hold it in place and manipulate it. That's a tractor beam that, in a sense, that works over a very short distance, so maybe we'll be able to figure out a tractor beam. Tony of Earth. I like that, that's good. Artificial intelligence is not going to end well. Have these engineers watched any of the Terminator movies? Yeah, actually they do. It just doesn't dissuade them. In sort of military think tank circles, they actually talk about the Skynet problem. It doesn't dissuade them from developing this stuff as fast as humanly possible. You know, at the time the Terminator was made in 1984, the idea of killer drones in the sky was pure science fiction. The next big stage is going to be, when do we give kill authority to an actual robotic intelligence? People are seriously arguing the ethics of that. The point is, even if we were to suddenly grow a moral conscience here in this country and decide that it's a bad idea to develop an artificial general intelligence, somebody else is going to do it, and then the military will justify us developing it, because if we don't do it, the other guys will do it. So it is going to happen. The people who are working at the forefront of artificial general intelligence say it's not if, it's when, and their outside prediction is 50 years and their inside prediction is 10 to 15 years as a civilization, and it's going to profoundly alter the nature of our existence, I believe, and, you know, better wake the up. I think we're doomed, personally. Okay, this is from Mello. So why does every sci-fi show do this whole android becoming human trope, as opposed to an android which looks human, not becoming human? Somehow that's not as interesting, I guess. I think we just endlessly explore this idea of the human-appearing machine, and it's our way of dealing, one, with our angst about where robotics might be going. But I think historically it was more about just kind of playing with these ideas that you can't trust people. That's what it all boils down to, kind of at its core. It's that we've got 100,000 years of not trusting each other. Miko Koala, my question: how do you think the popularity of sci-fi in the mid-20th century has played a part in our 21st century obsession with actually creating real robots? That's actually a really intelligent question. I think that a lot of the 20th century science fiction about robots actually has prepared us very well for imagining a society in which robots play a real role. I think we're just kind of drumming our fingers impatiently, waiting for the tech to get worked out. And, you know, I think we've all seen the advancements in technology. I see us now moving into, essentially, or already living in, a science fiction world. Wojtek Kuba? Multiple concepts from science fiction, i.e. tablets, rockets, autonomous drones, are now a reality. Will we have alien-like monsters too? I think science fiction is very interesting in the way that it predicted some things highly accurately and didn't predict other things very well at all. Now, in terms of will we have alien-like monsters, the alien, and by the way, it's capitalized, so I think they're referring to the alien. To be very literal about the answer, you'd have to go out into space to encounter that type of alien, some kind of hostile alien life form based on some completely different kind of biology. Probably in our lifetimes, we're not going to get much past the orbit of Mars, maybe out to the asteroid belt, to Jupiter. We're not progressing in terms of human spaceflight very fast. So in terms of us going out and being in jeopardy from an alien with a capital A, I don't see that happening very soon. I think it's interesting to point out that we have not one tiny shred of evidence of actual life beyond the Earth. We all would love to see it, but we have no evidence whatsoever. Megan Knox, why does the sci-fi fantasy film never win the Oscar? Exactly, Megan, what I'm saying. Costumes, makeup, right. It drives me nuts every year. The first time I noticed this was when I was just a movie fan and not a practitioner yet, when Star Wars, which to me was the ultimate science fiction film in its day, so this would have been 77, probably the Oscars of 78, lost to Annie Hall, a little cute relationship story, and Star Wars. Like, what the f*** are you people thinking? There's this attitude that science fiction is not humanistic enough, that it's not about real people. But there also is science fiction that plays by the rules of good drama and is important conceptually and says something about our society and has great characters and is well made and so on. The Academy just has a blind spot about it, so they typically will award technical awards, but not the real stuff, not the acting. People seem to think that you can't do a humanistic movie if you're standing in front of a green screen, which is not true at all. All movie is artifice. You know, you're recording on a kid, you've got a script, it's all written down, and you're doing take after take after take after take and cutting it all together. So it's innately artificial. The truth underlies the artifice. The truth of what you're saying is the direct connection with the audience. Science fiction can do that as well as any other genre in filmmaking, and so I think this is an oversight. Okay, time travel movies always seem to make no sense. Terminator still confuses me. How can Kyle Reese be John Connor's father if he has to T-travel? Well, you have what's called classically in science fiction the grandfather paradox. And it basically says if you build a time machine and you go back through time and you kill your grandfather before he's met your grandmother, you'll cease to exist. And therefore, you've never built the time machine, so therefore you didn't go back and kill him, so therefore you do exist. You wind up with these endlessly recursive causal loops in time travel. No science fiction author has ever resolved this, and in fact, most physicists will tell you that time travel, certainly into the past and altering our present, is impossible. But that's no fun. That's no fun. So we're doing time travel, so just shut the up. That's my answer to that one. But if you want to get technical about it, I would say that time travel works like quantum superposition. So you have a number of hypothetical futures, but until the whole thing plays itself out, it hasn't collapsed down to that future which actually persists and prevails and goes on from there. And all the other futures that might have been possible, even if people thought they were alive in them, simply cease to exist. Okay, guys, thanks for geeking out with me, and I hope you got your daily dose of science fiction.